Hey everybody, Erin from the Impatient Gardener, and welcome to fall. I guess we are officially in fall now, at least according to the calendar, so there's nothing I can do to continue my denial that that's happening. But that's okay because there's a lot of projects that need to get done here this fall, more so than usual. Sorry about the helicopters. The Ryder Cup is going on right now, like just north of us, and we are on the direct flight path from the Ryder Cup to the Milwaukee airport and Chicago airports. So helicopters go over all day long. Anyway, as I was saying, lots of projects to do this fall. And the biggest is right here behind me. So this is the garden that is just to the north side of the house. We've talked about this garden a lot of times before. This is where I've got the little hydrangea in a pot over here. Now the hydrangea in the pot, if you might recall, is in that spot because it is over a septic inspection port for part of our septic system involves a very large, like 10 by 8 foot concrete tank. Long story short, that tank has to be replaced, and so we're moving it. And so what that means is that this whole area here is going to get dug up. Now obviously that's not great news, but I did know that tank was there, and I've known since I started putting plants there that there could be a situation at which sometime this might have to be done. So I have never planted anything in that area that is going to be too precious or anything that's going to be too difficult to move. So basically what we're looking at is the area from the edge of the grass on the path over as far as the tricolor beech. The tricolor beech should be plenty far away that it will not be impacted at all. I did purposely put that tree where I put it, thinking it would be far enough out of the way if anything ever had to be done. So I'm very glad I did that. And then as far back as the ginkgo in the back. So that means we're mostly dealing with hostas, geranium macrorrhizum. I've got 4 or 5 spireas in there. There's some glow girl spireas and some blue kazoo spireas in there. And then this year I actually added in a few little things this year to fill it out. So there's some other perennials in there. There's a few phlox, some salvia, little bits and pieces here and there. So obviously dealing with this is not a one-day project. So I will show you some of it, but what I thought I would do is just tell you a little bit about how I'm going to tackle this, because I think this happens occasionally in people's yards where something that you've created has to be destroyed for one reason or another. And that's what's happening here. So the plan is to save all of these plants in one way or another. These are all good plants. Like I said, there's nothing that I couldn't replace here, but why buy new if you don't have to? For the most part, my plan is to dig these up and heal them in somewhere to overwinter somewhere. This project is going to be done probably in November. So by spring, everything should be back to normal. So I should be able to plant early in spring, as long as everything goes well. I'll also be giving a few plants away, dividing things and giving things away. And then some things, if I can figure out where they might end up in the future, I might immediately transplant them there. I haven't gotten that far yet. Now I don't exactly know how things are going to go back here. Although I'm kind of happy with the design now, it does seem like a good opportunity that if I wanted to change things up, that I could be doing that now when I've got sort of a blank slate in front of me. Maybe just even replacing these plants or putting these plants in a different shape. I don't know. That's what's winters. So the good news is that I've got plenty of time to get this done. And that's good because I'm going to show you where most of these plants are going and what the situation with that is. So just to give you an overall idea of how this project is going to go down, basically they're going to dig out this whole garden. They need to access the entire top of the tank. This tank is being abandoned, so in order to abandon it properly, they need to access the entire tank rather than removing it. And I'll tell you why we can't remove it, because I have planted so many gardens around the house, they cannot get their trucks to this spot. And because we have the creek running back over here, they can't get across that. So again, another issue of my own making, but it's not all bad because the new tank is going to go on the other side of the creek. So just a quick note, when I talk about the creek, it's not really a creek, it's the word I use for it. It's also not a creek. It's basically a drainage path. So it only is really active when we have a lot of rain or during a wet season. There is not water in it constantly, but it is a big hole in the ground where water is occasionally. So apparently this is all fine to run the septic across there. I don't really know. This is none of the septic stuff is really my department. I just know what they said they have to do. So, okay, so this whole grass area here is probably going to be dug up as well, because they're going to need to get the new pipes from the new sewer up to the house. So this whole grass will lose all this. And then, if you can see me way back here, the new tank is going to go right over there. So what am I doing in the vegetable garden? Well, it's because most of the plants from over there are going to spend the winter in these raised beds. I've cleaned out a corner of this one where the green beans were, and those were done. The biggest issue with this is that I still have a lot of things growing, so I actually can't transplant too much right now. But this is a nice little spot for this. Keep in mind that when you're healing something in for the winter, which just means you're just plopping it in the ground basically to overwinter something or to hold it until it gets truly planted, nothing's going to put on a lot of growth. So it's just about good soil root contact, good moisture. I certainly will have that with the drip system here, which we'll be able to run right up until we have to turn it off. So this is a pretty ideal spot. Plus, these things can come out early in spring. They'll be easy to get out of here, less bending over, and I don't have to dig up another part of the garden. These beds will be available. If there's one issue here, it's that so many things are still growing in the raised beds that I don't have a lot of room right now. In fact, this is the only area I could really make room for right now. So some of these things are going to have to happen pretty quickly, all packed in at one time, because I'm just still using these beds for vegetables. So I thought what I'd do today is start by digging out some of that geranium macrorrhizum. I obviously can't save that all. That would take up 2 or 3 of these beds. And frankly, that stuff grows so quickly and you can divide it so easily that what I'm going to do with it is dig it out, keep a portion of it, divide it, and I have actually a friend who needs some of it. So I'm going to share with a friend. If I ever need more, I'm sure I can go over to her house and divide it, but I have a lot of it growing around, so I don't think we're going to be struggling for geranium macrorrhizum. But I am going to get some of that healed into this bed, and so we'll just show you that part of this project today, but again, it's going to be continuing on. So you can see how this comes out of the ground, and you can also see how it spreads. And this is a really tough plant, so you don't have to be real delicate, but it just comes out in nice little clumps like this. Easy to separate. You can just kind of shake them out. If you need to break them off, again, it's super tough. It's not going to be an issue. And so what I'm going to do is dig, pull them apart here, and then we'll just share part of this, and the rest of it will go in the raised bed over there to be overwintered and replanted either in this spot or somewhere else. This patch over here was just put here last year, divided from another area. So you can see how quickly it makes a nice ground cover. But it does not jump out in the grass. It doesn't go too far. If it starts getting a little bigger than you want, it's very easy to take back. That's why this is, to me, one of my top ground covers, because it's just really well behaved, and yet it still fills in nicely, which is a balance you can't often find. So as you can see, I've got my work cut out for me on this project, but I'm just going to chip away on it as room opens up in the vegetable garden, and I can move things over there. And of course, the fun part will be when I figure out what's going to happen here next year. Sometimes these things happen, and they almost always start out being a real bummer, and they end up being kind of a great thing that ended up happening. You know, sometimes it just seems like so much work to pull plants out, and I don't know about you, but I can't really see an area very well when there are plants there. So it almost helps me to have a blank slate. And that's what we're going to have here. So maybe it'll come back looking the same way, and maybe it won't, but we'll find out next spring. Hey, thanks for watching. If you want to see where this project goes, hit the subscribe button. Thank you guys. Have a great day in your garden. We'll see you soon.